Okay, guys, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I've had to change software like 5 times today. So let's give it a try and see what happens. We're going to start with the Cliche Kid today. You will find the Cliche Kid on page 14 of your Carol and Duffy booklets. So let's start by reading the poem and then we'll go through and annotate. The Cliche Kid. I need help, Doc. I'm bad. I can't forget the rustle of my father's ball gown as he bent to say goodnight to me, his kiss, his French scent. Give me a shot of something, or the sound of Ma and her pals up late, boozing, dealing the cards, Big Bertha pissing out from the porch under the stars. It gets worse. Chalk dust, the old schoolroom empty, the kids so unpopular even my imaginary friend left me for another child. I'm screwed up, Doc, jumpy. Distraught in autumn, kneeling under the chestnut trees, seeing childhood in the conkers through my tears. Bonkers, and me so butch in my boots down the macho bars. Give me a break. Don't let me pine for that first love, that faint down on the cheeks, that easy laugh in my ears, in my lonesome heart, the day I had to leave. Sweet Jesus, Doc, I worry I'll miss when a long time dead, the smell of the baby's head, the fresh baked grass, damn it, the new mown bread. Okay. So then we have to talk about the actual poem in terms of annotating it. So start with the word cliche from the title. Cliche is a platitude, something that's been repeated over and over and over again. And cliches generally suggest a lack of original thought, but they do give us like a feeling of familiarity. And the idea with that is that it contrasts with the disturbing themes of the poem. Now, before we move too far on with this idea of the cliche, let's have a look at the ending of each stanza. So, you've probably already noticed this kind of trailing off with the ellipsis at the end of each one. And that trailing off suggests this idea of losing their thoughts or confusion. So you've got trailing off and this idea of confusion, and that's structural, and we'll see that idea of confusion come through again as we look at the rest of the poem and the way that the rest of the poem is put together. Now, automatically, you've got this doc in the first line. I would, myself, link this idea of doc to the idea of the poem Nostalgia, which we've already studied together, because in Nostalgia, you're going to remember that they were speaking to a doctor there as well. They were speaking to a psychiatrist about the concept of nostalgia. And here you've got that same idea of the persona of the poem addressing a doctor to talk to them about their problems. And then throughout the poem you have the doctor being addressed here. So can you see, give me a shot of something, it gets worse, give me a break, and then sweet Jesus, Doc. Again, in all of these, it's almost quite demanding. So you've got these imperatives showing this idea of demand. To pull the reader through this idea that this person is demanding something of the doctor. You're going to notice in the poem that the doctor never replies. This is a very one-sided conversation. Now, to go along with this idea of the doctor, you have this lexical set of mental illness running through. So you've got I need help, Doc, and bad. You've got the idea of a shot of something, which could be alcohol. I think because it's right before the mother boozing, it suggests that maybe it's alcohol. But equally, a shot could be an injection. So I guess this idea of the medical, the doctor coming through again. You've got the idea that even the imaginary friend left them. Got the idea of being screwed up. Again, the doctor addressed the idea of someone being jumpy or anxious. The idea of somebody being distraught, in tears, bonkers. all of these kind of pulling up this idea of the mental illness that this person feels that they are facing. So I would just kind of label somewhere the lexical set of mental illness. And you have this idea of confusion running all the way through. So if you throw some pens, so you've got the father in the ball gown with his kiss and his French scent. You've got Ma up late boozing and Big Bertha pissing out from the porch. Obviously, Big Bertha to be able to piss out from the porch is quite a masculine thing, so it's an inversion. You've got the idea of somebody inverting those versions, and this comes back at the end because you have the fresh baked grass and the new mown bread. Obviously, again, that's another inversion. So it's a switch up of the cliche or a switch up of the expected. And the inversion there is of the gender roles. And this all links together to give this idea of somebody who's very stressed and confused. Now this is highlighted in terms of the structure. So the narrative, it's a narrative poem. The structure is narrative. It's somebody telling you a story, and that somebody is the speaker of the poem, the narrator. There are 3 lines in each stanza. We'd call that a tercet. And in each stanza, there are these near rhymes. So you have this idea of normality and cliche coming through, and these internal rhymes. So like conkers and bonkers. It's just a little bit off. Now remember, when we see near rhymes, like tears and bars, for example, they don't rhyme, but they almost rhyme. Cards and stars, they don't rhyme, but they almost rhyme. They're a near rhyme, they're a slant rhyme. We say that slant rhyme is discordant. Slant rhyme, it suggests something is wrong, something's off. Ooh, something is wrong or off. So it would be like discordant. Now, you can see that in this person. The thing that's discordant is this person's mental state. They are struggling to make sense of the world, and they are showing you that through the rhyme scheme, which trails off and on, just like their thoughts trail off and on, and which is discordant, which doesn't match, just like their thoughts don't match. The thing is, the strict structure suggests that this disorder comes as part of the order, and that near rhyme and that strict order suggests that there's a desire to be the cliche kid, there's a desire to be normal that isn't coming through. Obviously the tone is very conversational and informal, and if I were looking for something to compare this with, I would say Nostalgia is a good one from the Duffy to have a look at and have them together. So now that we've talked about the cliche kid, you can make sure that you annotate your copy. Thank you very much, and I will speak to you soon.